to like a mutual love and respect. And that's beautiful because, you know, my dad left this earth with him and my mom having like a common ground.
This is gonna hurt. It's time for the Suffering Podcast. An invisible enemy, real or imagined, is often blown out of proportion or underestimated. You can make a mountain out of a molehill or show up with a knife to a gunfight. An unseen adversary must still be approached with caution. Without the proper tools or understanding, it's easy to be overrun. Then playing catch-up, trying to gather weapons to fight. You're put back on your heels playing defense rather than offense. A lack of respect for an opponent ensures that victory is a slim chance. You are then left without the would'ves and should'ves, wondering what could have been done to fight the war, allowing success. I'm Kevin Donaldson, always here with Mike Falaise, and welcome to the Suffering Podcast. If you're a fan of overcoming adversity and overcoming suffering, then we're for you, because that's what we do here, and that's the stories that we highlight. So do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, please comment, ring the bell so you can get notified of all of our new content. Now you can join. Follow us on all social media so you can find out what we're up to. On this episode of the Suffering Podcast, we welcome Stefanie Shellhamer to discuss the suffering of something we've been staying away from for so long, and that's the suffering of COVID.
Yes.
You know, I'm telling you right now, this is an episode that Mike and I had talked about doing for so long, but we were unable to because of certain restrictions. But guess what? We're demonetized. We can do whatever we want to do. Thank you for coming in, Stefanie. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. It means a lot.
It's going to be great. It's going to be great. And before we get into anything, let's throw a big shout out to our marquee sponsor. That's Toyota of Hackensack. We don't trust anybody as podcasters and former police officers, but we do trust Toyota Hackensack. So go to toyotahackensack.com and let them find you a car. So, Stefanie, each week we take a question from one of our audience members. This question comes from Anvils and Nails. And they ask, when is it time to give tough love? Now, coming from your past and knowing what I know about you, there has been a time when somebody should have, if they didn't, given you tough love. And you try to carry that information on into your future self.
Correct.
So when do you believe that it's time to give tough love?
That's a great question, first of all. I definitely can relate to this. The tough love was definitely given. I remember when, my life kind of started to take a different direction. I was having issues with, which I shared with you, substance use, and my father, who's a police officer.
They kind of contradict each other.
They absolutely do.
Yeah.
We'll get to that, I'm sure. But the time to give tough love is when the love that you're giving and the enabling is actually hurting the person that you love, because that's a huge thing. Like, my family, my father, my whole family really, but mostly my father, because he was in like the thick of it with me, did not enable me and just allow me to hurt myself and throw my life away, but still came and showed up for me. But tough love is like the purest form of love, because if somebody is hurting themselves through whatever, substance use, and you're just allowing them by enabling them and giving them like a soft cushion to land, you're killing them. They're never going to get better.
Tough love is a difficult thing, because you like this person, obviously, who you're friends with. You have some sort of affection for them, some sort of love for them. Before recent tragedies with Mike, my tough love, I had to be pushed to a point where I just could not take it anymore until it's time to say, dude, what the fuck? And I was there with Mike. A lot of us were there with Mike. But for whatever reason, I was too afraid to lose my friend as a friend, because I saw his life imploding. Tough love should have come sooner than it had, and I got to live with that guilt. Now, I just did this not too long ago. Tough love comes. I have to be willing to lose that person as a friend, lose them as an acquaintance, lose them in my life, as long as it saves their life. So the time for tough love is when you become so frustrated and you're watching that person slide down a very slippery slope, and you want to try to do everything you can in order to stop that. Tough love needs to come quick, it needs to come fast, and you can never wait too long, because if you wait one day too long, and this is what happened here, you wait one day too long, you live with that guilt and that regret, and that's something that we should never live with.
Can I share something with you?
You share whatever. This is a podcast. We're supposed to talk.
So you just sparked something for me too. I as well have a very, very close friend. I'm not going to say too much. I want to keep it just a friend, right? A close friend. and it's the same situation. We got clean around the same time. You know, I have 5 years clean and sober, so I, went through that journey in 2019, and this person followed suit shortly after. But there was a time there where this person was struggling, and I was trying to like be that person who was helping them and being there for them and bringing them to meetings with me. But it got to a point now, fast forward 5 years, and this person is still just caught in the grips. That's what we say, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's been difficult for me because I've recently gone no contact with this person out of that same space, like tough love. I need to protect myself because that's another thing. Like we can't pour from an empty cup. And if I'm consistently, you know, pouring into somebody who is not reciprocating and is not changing, and isn't maybe able to take those steps, willing to take those steps, then I got to protect me. I got to protect my peace. And I love this person. This is like my best friend.
You love
And
them so much. So here's the difficult part. Tough love can never be given to somebody who you don't care about.
right.
Because then it's just fuck you and get
Yeah,
away from me, and you
exactly.
never have to talk to them again. Tough love has to be given to somebody who is so close to you, so intimately close to you, that it's going to be a hole in your life without them, and you know it.
Mhm.
But unfortunately, it's a necessary evil that you have to inflict.
Exactly. That's where I'm at. So
Well,
great question.
I wish this person a lot of luck,
I know,
and
me
if
too.
we have a lot of resources now.
Yes,
So
I appreciate that.
make sure we're stronger together than apart.
Absolutely.
So Anvils and Nails, thank you so much for the question. Keep sending in your questions, and we will try to get them on the air. And while you're at it, head over to see Gus over at Cubita Cafe, 234 Franklin Avenue. Some of the most delicious food by a classically trained chef. Gus is not in the food business; he's in the people business. So when you're in there, you're part of his family, and I guarantee you're going to have a good meal. So 234 Franklin Avenue. Go see Gus at Cubita Cafe. You won't be disappointed. So we've made contact after the recent tragedy. You reached out to us on social media, and you told me the backstory. You lost your father because of COVID, and obviously we have never been able to talk about COVID because we would have been when our channel was monetized, they would have taken us down right away. But guess what? The gloves are off, and we can finally talk about something that affected not one person. This is a suffering that's affected everybody.
Absolutely.
And it's time to start bringing it to light. And it's affected you more than most. Before we get into that, you're a Linhurst girl.
I am.
Are you born and bred in Linhurst?
I was born early on bred, and then I moved, and now I'm back.
You always return to Linhurst.
Always.
So where did you move? Where did you move from?
So my parents divorced when I was about 5 or 6 years old.
Mark of any good cop.
Right, absolutely. My dad was like typical like 30s divorced dad that all my friends like loved. he was one of those. So my parents split. I moved to Little Falls in Passaic County. It's actually not far from here. And my dad stayed in Lyndhurst, and I kind of did like the back and forth thing my whole childhood. So I did visit Lyndhurst like 50-50, but my home base was really in another town because I went to school there, and my father was still a police officer in Lyndhurst, and all my family was from Lyndhurst. So there was always that connection.
So it's a weird dynamic being from divorced parents, because some people it empowers, but some people it breaks. So were your parents both actively involved, or did one just slide off? Because that
No.
happens as well.
They were both extremely actively involved. If my dad had it his way, we would have still been living in his house. Like, he did not want me to go with my mom, and the dynamics of that was truly just that I was super young and wanted to stay with my mom, and my sister was a little older than me and wanted to stay in the town that she had built a life already. I was still like barely in first grade.
Oh, so you and your sister split as well.
So we split as well. But the dynamic there was that I was constantly back and forth, and she would also come back and forth to my mom's house. But my dad was like super dad to me, because for the time that I moved to Little Falls till the day I got my license, he made that drive from Lyndhurst to Little Falls. We joked about it. We must have made that drive like 30,000 hours altogether, because it was just back and forth. He never missed a day. I slept there 2 nights a week. I was there every other weekend. So
that warms my heart, because I see this too often in divorce, where parents will separate because they can't get along, but they
Right.
have this mutual connection between them called children, and you divorce each other. You don't divorce your children.
Absolutely.
You know, they're your blood. They got your blood running through their veins, and they didn't ask to be born. And
Absolutely.
too many people use it. We've seen it often in here. Too many parents will get divorced and use their children as pawns in some sort of chess game.
Hmm.
What was the relationship between your mother and your father post divorce?
Great question. I was just talking about this. So in the beginning, it was a little rough. It was like, a lot of resentment,
They're learning how to live separate lives.
heartbreak. Yeah. It wasn't the best. And my dad really kind of took the brunt, I'd say, of like the heartbreak. It was more so my mom. My parents met when they were really young. My mom was like 15. They were like they grew up on the same street.
Your dad wasn't 30 when she was
No,
15.
she was
Okay,
he was
thank
not.
God.
They were both in high school.
There's rules against that.
There certainly are. But it just didn't work out. Like it was each other's first love, but that doesn't always mean that's really like the person for you, but you, like you said, you bring children into this world, you have a bond forever. So there was a lot of heartbreak. And then also, my dad, it killed him that me and my sister were kind of split.
Yeah,
He
you
wanted so badly to he begged to just keep the family in Lyndhurst. But my mom, she's a human too, and she deserved to live her life in the way that she saw fit. But they definitely didn't get along at first, and then it evolved. It evolved to more of like a co-parenting, to like a mutual love and respect, and that's beautiful because my dad left this earth with him and my mom having like a common ground.
very rare. It's a very rare thing, two people that can get past their own, because you got to drop your ego.
Right.
You invested so much time and so many resources into this marriage, this union, and it doesn't work out. And all of a sudden, what you thought was concrete is really made out of sand, and it just crumbles
Yep.
before you. But that's a great story, and I love the fact that your father was willing to go, because that's what a father is. A
That's
father,
right.
being a father myself, I cannot imagine the pain of not seeing my children every single day.
Mm-hmm.
And as bad as sometimes me and my wife fight, that will keep me steadfast on a lot of things, because
Absolutely.
I don't ever want to be that person. And I know if we were to ever split up, that I wouldn't be able to see my kids every day. And that would kill me. That would
I
kill me.
think that's the story for a lot of people. You're not alone in that, I
Uh,
assume.
Unfortunately, not enough. Unfortunately, not enough. But anyway, so you move on in your life, and you're living in Little Falls.
Hmm.
Your dad is in your life.
Yes.
Both your parents are in your life. What was the crowd like that you hung around?
So in high school and in middle school, grammar school, I was always very smart, very, very good in school. I always got straight A's. I was in like the little gifted and talented class. Like I would get pulled out of class once a week and we got to like do smart kid shit, and that was cool. So because I had that going for me, I think my crowd didn't immediately like raise red flags, but I would say, I played sports too. So definitely like a lot of jocks, a lot of popular kids, but I somehow, and this is like the interesting thing about addiction, that like it starts way before you put like a drink or drug in your body. Like we somehow all found each other, like the kind of kids that were like still trying to like do the right thing and like played sports and did good in school, but like experimented with drugs.
Uh,
That's as
th-
blatant as I can
that's
put it.
that's children finding their way,
Yeah.
and it so it kills me with my kids. Here's exactly what I tell my kids with addiction, because I am an addict and I know I'm an addict.
Mm.
So I looked at them straight in the eye and I said, there's two types of people. There's the people who can pick up a drink now and never pick it up again. They can do a line of cocaine today, never do a line of cocaine again. But then there's the other type of person that can take one drink and become an alcoholic, take
Yep.
one line of cocaine and be a drug addict. The difference is, and here's the gamble. The gamble is you don't know which one you are.
Exactly.
And there's only one way to find out, and it's a huge roll of the dice.
It absolutely is.
So, what was the first drug that you ever tried?
So definitely, we'll throw alcohol in first because alcohol is a drug.
At
But
what age?
after that, I probably started drinking more so once I got into high school, like my freshman year, 14. But like,
Great.
yeah,
My
no,
son's a freshman.
it's so young. I look at the 14-year-olds now. My siblings are in high school. They're children, but they're good kids. I don't know what it was. It's like you said, you don't know which one you're gonna be. And that was the issue. Like, I didn't know that experimenting with substances, and it was a lot of like turmoil that I was going through that I didn't understand, like through my parents divorcing and like,
Parents don't see that stuff, so they don't look at their own lives. They always see themselves as something different than their children. And I'm going to put this in perspective. So I got my first tattoo when I was 13. I did it myself.
looked at yourself
I did
too.
it myself. When my oldest son turned 13, I looked at him and go, "Holy shit! I gave myself a tattoo when I was his age."
Right.
And knowing that if he ever came home with a tattoo, I'd brain him.
Exactly.
So that was that holy shit moment for me. Like this kid's getting into the dangerous water. So now I gotta not lock down on him. I have to educate him. I have to
Right.
motivate him. I have to
Exactly.
show him what a future could look like if he stays clean, clear, and sober.
Right.
Is he going to stay sober the rest of his life? No.
No, kids
He's-
are gonna do their thing.
He's going to drink. He's going to smoke marijuana once or twice, and I know it, and it's going to kill me. And but I have this strange rule with my children. It's tell me the truth, and I will never get mad at you, and I promise you that. Lie to me, and you will see the beast come out in me.
That was like my dad. He absolutely hated that lying shit. He was not for it. And honestly, it wasn't until it started going south for me that like the lies had to be told. Like in the beginning, I was able to pretty much all of my addiction, I was always wearing a mask. So I was like two people. I was very good at like keeping that mask on. So when I was younger and just experimenting, it was almost like 90% of my personality was just like a high school student finding their way. But that little 10% came in when I started experimenting with substances and hanging out with the wrong crowd. And then it just kind of got to the point, which is what happens with addiction, where it was like 50-50, then 60-40. Next thing you know, 100% of my life is dedicated to getting and using and finding ways and means to get more.
So you went from alcohol. Did you
Yes.
graduate?
Oh, yeah, I graduated. Then next came cocaine. I remember trying it being so young, and just doing it because it was like rebellious. Like it was just, it got me outside of myself more than the drug.
This is
the
cool.
act.
I'm doing cocaine.
Right.
Yeah.
No, it was not cool. Just say no. But yeah, then it was like the big thing in my era, my school and stuff was like the ecstasy pills. And it's just wild to think back doing all those things and like thank God, like especially in my earlier younger years, nothing bad happened to me. Like, there's things that happen in my life over the course of my adult life for sure, but like I just look at myself as like thinking I knew what I was doing, right? And
You
my
don't-
dad used to be like, "You don't know shit." Like respectfully, "You don't know shit. You're 15 years old."
So I think that way as well. It's like when I was 13, I had it all figured out. Well, and when I went 18, I was
found
much
out I was
smarter.
wrong.
And then when I was 25, realized how stupid I was at 18, and so forth and so
Yes,
on.
me too.
I will be turning 50 this year, begrudgingly, and
Snaps.
I've come to a point where I don't know. But with my children, I don't tell them that they don't know anything. I tell them that you're going to learn so much about yourself in the next couple years, but don't ever make the mistake of thinking you have it all figured out. That's the only way I put that.
Yeah.
I try never to tell them because police. So you get on in the era that I got on. You'll get on, and the old timers will tell you, "Kid, you don't rookie. You don't know shit." Well, that's not 100% true.
No.
I have my life experiences. I fresh out of the academy. My book knowledge is better than yours. So I don't. It's
Yes.
not that I don't know shit. I lack experience.
Right.
So that would be a better way to put that. So with children, they lack experience, but you think you got it all figured out. So you're
Sure do.
invincible.
Yes.
You're doing
That's how I
cocaine,
felt.
and you're doing. So what's the years?
So like 2008, 2009.
So the
2007.
fentanyl
Yeah.
problem wasn't quite there yet,
Yes.
like it is now. But
This was.
but you're always worried about getting a hot dose.
Yes.
Maybe somebody putting something extra in it.
There was a lot of that with those ecstasy pills. Like that's basically just like a bunch of shit thrown in a pill and crushed into a shape, and here you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like it's amazing that nothing bad ever happened to me, but it was that sense of invincibility. Like I remember that my whole outlook on using drugs at that age was like, well, I'll never be an addict because like an addict, like they just didn't know what they were doing. Like, this is the ignorance. Like they just didn't know how to handle it. Maybe they didn't have like another path in life to follow, like completely misguided information that I was feeding myself.
If you look back and you think about all the trust that you put on whoever's giving you this pill, this line, this joint, this bottle, the amount of trust that you had to put in that person to say, yeah, sure, give me it.
Exactly.
And we've all been there. Nobody's immune to it. And guess what? In the 50s, nobody was immune to it then. In the 40s,
Right.
nobody was immune to it then. So every generation, as they go up, they say, oh, these kids, they don't know what they're doing. Well, you didn't know what you were doing
Exactly.
either.
There was always like something else hitting the streets. But yeah, my dad used to tell me that too. Like, you don't know what you're getting. You don't know what these people are putting in it. You don't know, like, it's just not safe.
So you move on.
Yes.
So you got cocaine. What's next? So you got this
Yes.
ecstasy, and then what?
Now it's the opioid epidemic. I was a victim of the opioid epidemic for sure.
So is that what got you?
Yes.
Yeah. What was
So-
your choice?
So what happened was,
The key component to any law enforcement officer being the best version of themselves is through education. Sherry Alsop is a leader in providing that education to police agencies, preparing them for the all too frequent dealings with sexual assault victims.
You've seen Sherry on episode 169 of the Suffering Podcast. She survived incest and almost daily sexual assault, so she comes from a place of experience and true understanding.
Sherry has the intelligence, commitment, and compassion to open the eyes of those on the front lines, while providing the tools to effectively deal with a difficult situation. Sherry's instruction comes from experience and multiple certifications.
Training with Sherry will offer on-site training, customized schedules, specialized instruction tailored from a victim's perspective.
You are going to hear Sherry's heart-wrenching but inspiring survivor story. Learn proprietary trauma-informed training techniques, uncovered victim-centered interview methods while earning continuing education credits according to your state guidelines. To be the best, you must learn from the best. Let Sherry also guide you through the delicate cases of sexual assault from a victim's point of view.
Be a source of comfort to those victims affected by these traumatic experiences while producing a solid investigation and uncovering details that often go unnoticed.
To find out more or to contact Sherry Alsop, go to sherryalsop.com. That's SherryIeallsup.com.